First off, I just want to say thank you, Pat, for taking time. I know you had a busy weekend. I saw all the wonderful pictures you had with the wonderful truck. And yes, for my listeners who may not know, Pat here is, God damn it, Joey should have kept an eye on them damn keys. Uh,
Exactly.
he's that guy that should have kept his eye on those damn keys. It is uh, Joey from Maximum Overdrive, as well as many other films, and stand-up comedian as well. Pat Miller is with us. Pat, thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
I uh, I am a big fan, as you can tell. I'm very excited. I got the Who Made Who on vinyl, and then I picked up that Steelbook, the Maximum Overdrive Steelbook they came out
Oh
with,
yeah.
and I have the original released VHS that
Okay.
came out.
Uh, put that up here closer. No, the
Sure.
backside.
Oh yeah.
Let me see that. I think that one has me in the picture. Up the little pictures up top. There should be
Yep.
three
Yep. You're
there.
right there.
Right
You're with the Humans Are Here,
there.
where
Yep.
they shoot out the drive-through menu.
Yep.
So I guess.
Here.
Uh, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just said humans here. Humans
Humans
here.
here. Yes. So, Pat, I guess just the obvious first question is, how did you get involved in Maximum Overdrive? How did you become get the role of Joey?
Okay. How far back do you want me to start? Like theater background or just for that part?
Wherever you'd like to start. What
Okay.
made you want to
Uh,
get take the role?
well,
Yes.
I talked so much for 3 days over the weekend. I lost my voice. I practically lost my voice just from talking. So I like to talk. So bear with me, brother.
Oh, no
Uh,
worries.
so basically, I was a theater major in college. Got a couple of auditions for a couple of other movies, B movies nobody's ever heard of. We don't talk about those. They're just they're. Um, then after I got the second movie, the I was looking for an agent. I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time, so I'll give you some context because this was filmed in Wilmington,
Mhm.
North Carolina, and I got an agent because they say, "Hey, this guy's making money without us, getting a commission off of it," and so um, I went down there, auditioned for the role, and a huge cattle call audition. There were people packed in the hallways and this, that, and the other. Um, I went and read, obviously and oddly enough, for if you know, are you very familiar with the movie?
Yeah.
Bathroom scene. You're going to get in a lot of trouble, man.
No, you could swear, and you can talk about whatever you want on here. No worries about that.
Okay,
The infamous bathroom scene. Yes.
so anyway, that was the part I read,
Hmm.
and so I I got thanked. Okay, thank you, non-committal, thank you.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, that just kind of was not worth the drive over here. Couple 4 hours. So I go back to my little my little Ford Escort. That's what I was tapping around in those days. And I was getting ready to change out of these cowboy boots that I wore for the audition because they said to dress like a trucker. Okay. And I was nowhere near being a trucker. I was a pump jockey, but
Yeah.
finally got. So I was going out there, taking my boots off, getting ready to drive out of there. And this guy comes running out of the building screaming my name. And I'm like, what is going on here? And so I said, yeah, over here. He said, they want you back in the room. They want you to read again. I said, okay. And this is really not heard of much. I mean, you get a call back, you have to drive back down there to get the call back.
Right.
This was like, like, you know, here you are, we're here. Here it is. Let's do it again. Did the same reading, did the same. sides. They handed me the same sides. I did the same reading. Got another non-committal. Thank you. I'm like, this is the weirdest crap in the world, brother. I don't know what's going on here. And so I'm driving back to Charlotte, where I was living at the time, and I'm thinking that was the weirdest audition in my life I've ever been to. That is the weirdest. And then I kept noticing, I kept playing it back. How you'll drive and play back in your mind. I don't know if when I drive, I think about everything else in the world except
Mhm.
driving. But all of a sudden, it hit me. That was Stephen King I just auditioned for.
Hmm.
Now,
Wow.
the reason I didn't notice Stephen King immediately,
Sure.
there was a smoking hot blonde in the audition process as well, and I was 25 years old, and
Yeah.
young guy, you know, it's going to happen. That you think about other things, you get distracted, preoccupied. But that smoking hot blonde turned out to be De Laurentiis' wife.
Oh.
So, and as time went on, I learned that she had never eaten at a McDonald's. So, yeah, not in this guy's league.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, about 2 weeks later, I got a call, and
Sure.
they they offered me the role.
Wow. And that's that's great that you actually auditioned for King. And the role of Joey. One other thing I love about Stephen King books and that is because when you're introduced to all the characters, you're never sure who's going to make it all the way through.
Right, exactly.
And so when we're introduced to this wonderful cast that you got to work with, you're always wondering, okay, who's not going to make it? But you end up being one of the survivors of the Dixie Stop.
Yeah, and we're still surviving today.
That's right. He's still surviving today. Uh,
Exactly.
so you get the part, you go out there, and I mean, there's a lot of scenes where the entire cast is there. What was that like? Because usually you have like small scenes here and there, but there's a lot of parts where you're all in the same room, and it looked hot.
Well, let me answer the hot part first.
Sure.
It was. It was Wilmington, North Carolina, coastal Carolina, eastern seaboard, heat and humidity hot.
Oof.
98 degrees, about 95% humidity, and it was miserable. Now, that was miserable for the actors just standing around.
Sure.
The guys that were having to drive the trucks, I don't know if you wanted to get into that or not
Sure.
yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Whatever you want.
but the guys that were driving the trucks, they had black on, black hoods,
Yeah.
full gloves, all long sleeve, and most of those trucks did not have air conditioning,
Ooh.
and they had to drive the trucks with the windows up.
Oh my God. It had to be
Uh,
like an oven.
it was exactly like that, and they would give them breaks every little bit, to come in and get water, and they would literally take bottles of water, in each hand and pour it over themselves, try to cool off, and then they would drink some. I mean,
Wow.
I felt sorry for a lot of people on that movie, but those guys, they had it the toughest. And now, getting back to your original question about the groups of people,
Yeah.
um, we had a lot of in jokes on that movie, and Screen Actors Guild is SAG.
Right. Hmm.
Okay, well, we were all members. There were several of us that were all members of the WAG,
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Window Actors Guild, because we were all looking out a window at some point in time doing something. And it was, I mean, it was like a lot of fun. We had 16 weeks on this deal, or I did,
Mm.
you know.
Hmm.
I wasn't there for the baseball field. I wasn't there for the drawbridge stuff.
Right.
Um, and uh, so we they shot it pretty much in continuity.
Oh, they did.
Uh-huh. Till they got to until they got to the nights.
Hmm.
Uh, because they in the daytime the mule shot it up. Then the nights we shot later, so they went back in and redid everything, pushed the wall back out, rebuilt it, took the bullet holes out. So we had like, I think it wasn't quite a week, but it was like maybe 4 or 5 days off,
Sure.
and we all stayed around because I got paid. I ain't going nowhere. There's a beach right down the road. I just got to be careful not to get sunburned, or
Sure.
make it look like, what happened to him to get in the radiator or something or something. Um, but yeah, it was yeah, that was a hoot though. But we had several of us guys sharing a trailer because we were just basically dressing in there and stuff. Um, and I'll tell you a funny story. Are you familiar with Creep Show?
Yes, I am very much. Yes.
Okay, Stephen King played Jody Verrill in that movie.
Hmm.
Okay, and yeah, I can cuss on this, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So this is like more like BBC. Cool. Um, I auditioned for Stephen King, but I did not introduce myself. Never formally met. Okay, so here I am, first day on the set. They drive us up from the trailer lot and the hair and makeup and all that back there, in onto the set, and there sits Stephen King in one of the two chairs that they had on the porch. One of them I sat in, and then Duncan was in the other one. He was sitting there working on a storyboard, and I walked up to him and I went, "Jody Verrill, you lunkhead." Never had a man before now, mind
Sure.
you. He did not miss a beat. I knew this was going to be the coolest duck in the pond, man. He looks up, and goes, meteor shit. Oh, uh, yeah, I knew this was going to be a fun ride.
Well, and that comes across on screen too. Now, I don't look into like any stories or anything. I mean, there have been a few jokes made and such about King, and him himself saying, that he was high at the time he was shooting it, and all of that. I didn't matter because this film just comes across as so much fun. And even with these really hot conditions in that, it seemed like you and the cast were always having fun with this film. Was that the case?
Um, let's see. I can't speak for the others,
Hmm.
but myself personally, I would say about 94.9% of the time I had a blast.
Sure.
Uh, there were some, uh, how do I put this? Let's call them technical glitches.
Sure. Hmm.
Um, and there was one scene we, I think, did 23 takes of because of the same issue coming up.
Wow.
That got a little old.
I imagine.
Um, the the other major pain, and I literally do mean pain. You've probably heard me tell this story, but I'll tell it again if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Um, in the "Hey, you ain't full yet" scene,
Hmm.
where the goblin truck drives off,
Right.
we had the worst stunt coordinators in the history of stunt coordination.
Okay.
These guys, I don't even think they knew what they were. I don't think they halfway knew what they were doing.
Sure.
So, what was supposed to have happened in that scene, I'll start there if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, the there's the handle you squeeze part, right?
Mhm.
And then there's the nozzle, and then there's the hose that attaches to the back of the handle, the heavy part. Well, the hose, when the truck pulled off, was supposed to pull out of the back of the handle.
Oh.
So they put rubber cement in there,
Mhm.
and it was not supposed to stick very well.
Sure.
But again, these geniuses were working in 90 plus degree weather,
Mhm.
and the glue hardened.
Oh, no.
So when the truck pulls out, you see the nozzle break off into the tank.
Right.
And the tension on the hose reached its ultimate limit till something gave, the nozzle snap. The entirety of that heavy handle, and the diesel pumps or handles are heavier than the gas ones.
Right.
That entirety of that thing snaps back on a rubber spring because it's attached to this hose, and the hose is attached to a pump, and came back and hit me.
Ow.
Now ask me where.
Oh, no. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I dropped like a stone, man.
Oh.
Uh,
Ow.
yeah, I mean, and if you'll notice in the movie, there's a really quick edit right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I wasn't about to do that again.
That's a take.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Dang near killed me. So yeah,
Oh,
other than stuff like that,
sure.
you know, there was a couple of issues on the night shoots as well. You
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
toward the end, everybody was getting a little, you know,
Touch.
punchy and
Yeah.
hypey and whatever. Um, but I'm not going to tell tales out of school.
No.
Um, but it was, we were all just about, done.
So, so when you look relieved on the boat as it's driving away, you're actually all very relieved on the boat when
Oh
it's.
yeah, and that boat, um, that boat was owned by a guy who was an airline pilot,
Oh, okay.
whose dad was a local doctor in the Wilmington area,
Mm.
and if you look very closely, instead of Steve Gayton's, Barry Bell's character, Steve Gayton, was supposed to be the one driving it off,
Right.
but they put Dave Catharuba, who is the owner of the boat, in behind the wheel of the boat, and
Right.
just, I mean, it was stuff like that toward the end. It was like, let's just get the thing made. I mean, what? Why? Well, he's got a mustache. Don't even put a wig on. Just let him drive it. It's his boat. And, the boat had a motor,
Mhm.
and we're sailing off in a motorized boat, but whatever. Um, but Dave was a great guy, and I've lost touch with him, unfortunately. But he and his wife invited me over after the shoot, and said, "You want to go for a ride on the boat for real?" So I'm out there just having the time of my life with these people, and I mean we're at,
Yeah.
not 45 but 30 some degree pitch, like spinning around out there. I'm like, I'm gonna fall my fat butt out of this thing. But it was great. Uh, and that was the best part, man. Getting to meet new friends. I like meeting people.
Sure.
That's why, like the truck shows and
Mhm.
this, that, and the other. Just to meet the people that actually still enjoy the movie, and it has an unbelievable following.
Yeah, it's actually kind of grown over the years because when it first came out,
Oh yeah,
um,
man, it was a stinkeroo, man.
it didn't do well. But since then, I mean, I've always loved the movie. Um, all the characters. It's always great watching it and seeing the cast that you have in this. Yourself. You've got Yeardley Smith, who would go on to the voice. In The Simpsons. You've got just Pat Hingle. You got to do a number of scenes with Pat Hingle. What was that like?
I
Don't
got
you?
out with Pat Hingle, so I'm offset.
Hmm.
And to this day, he is probably my favorite superstar person that I got to hang out with. I mean, he was in everything.
He was.
And it looked and if you go back and look, you always knew it was him. He never looked older or younger or different, you know. Um, and I would go over to his trailer and knock on the door, and he and his wife would be in there hanging out because they were just like chilling.
Sure.
And I said, "Hey, Mr. Hingle, how you doing? I was wondering if you had time to chat. I'd love to hear some more stories." And I don't know how many times, I guess 3, 4, 5 times I went over there, just, and he would tell me stories about working with Andy Griffith and
Hmm.
Broadway, Burl Ives, all these other people he'd worked with. And as a character actor, which is what I am, I'm never going to be an action hero or anything like that. Uh, that was just, that was just like, I've opened up the chocolate factory and I've got the golden ticket. But
Yeah,
he was tremendous. He really was.
and
Uh,
you two seem to play off each other well too in your
yeah,
scenes. I love
he
the chemistry between you two.
he was really fun. He was a really fun guy to how do I put it? He was a giving actor.
Sure.
He
Hmm.
gave you a lot to react to, and 90% of acting is reaction anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, he really got into that role of Hendershot. It's like
Oh, fuck if I know, Bubba.
fucked if I know. He gets all that. I quote him all the time. A lot, actually, there's a lot of lines I quote from this movie, but you got to do some scenes as well with Emilio. I mean, as we mentioned, the bathroom scene. Now, where'd the magazine come from? Was that from prop department, or did you just happen to find that in the bathroom?
Okay, well, first of all, it was prop department.
Yeah.
Second of all, that was not an actual truck stop. They built
Right.
that. Uh, and the funny thing you mentioned about the bathroom scene, um, it was I can't remember the exact date now, August 20th or something like that of '85. And you can check the date if you want to dig into this, but it was the exact same day that Sean Penn got married to Madonna
Oh.
in Malibu. And the tabloids and the papers all said that the Brat Pack were there,
Mhm.
and Emilio's name was listed. And I just got the biggest chuckle out of that. So the next day we went into work and I saw him over there. I said, "Man, the press is lying about you again." He said, "What now?" I said, "Look, you were at Sean and Madonna's wedding." I said, "But I know better. You were in a bathroom of a truck stop in North Carolina with me." But
It's
he
oh, go
was
ahead.
fun writing. He was writing another movie
Hmm.
while he was working on this one, so he really didn't quote unquote hang out much. Um, but the people I got to meet through him that came to visit him were pretty famous. Pretty fabulous. Of course, at the time he was dating Demi Moore,
Oh yeah, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
and uh, oh my goodness, I could hear her talk. I, I told her one day, I said, "Can I just follow you around with a tape recorder and just listen to your?" So because I want to hear this forever. And she just backed me and said, "Oh, shut up," and it was all good fun, nothing serious. Played it off. Uh, Met Tom Cruise through him. Um,
Oh.
most of the Brat Pack came down there. Judd Nelson was there for a bit. They were in Breakfast Club together.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he was very serious into what he was doing and didn't play around a whole lot,
Sure.
which a lot of us were just like, man, this was my first quote unquote, major big screen movie because I'd done a couple of B movies type things before, and so I was tickled to death just to be there.
Well, and it sounds like everybody, even if though they were more Hollywood types, seemed very approachable.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, there was a definite click
sure.
in order. Um, in the guys department especially,
Hmm.
like there were the southern or local actors as they called us. Well, I'm like 6 hours away, so how local is that?
Sure.
Uh, but then there was the New York bunch, the New York actors,
Hmm.
and for the most part, they sort of had an air of superiority to
Hmm.
toward us, toward the local guys. Um, but I mean, there were some guys who had some pretty serious chops in the locals, as we were called. Uh, Leon Rippey. I don't know if you remember that name or know that name or familiar with him. He went on to have a big career. He was There was a TNT series called Saving Grace.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Holly,
Hmm.
he was Earl the Angel in that movie,
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah.
and he was in Young Guns 2 with Emilio, uh, and he's a fabulous actor. I
Hmm.
have again not talked to him in a few years, sort of lost that. That's okay. Um, J. Don Ferguson, uh, and the reason I'm remember telling you all these names, I'll make a
Sure.
point here in a minute.
Yeah.
It's another in joke I'll share with you if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, J. Don Ferguson, and when I was there, uh, I was acting. I was acting as Pat Miller,
Hmm.
and so the Screen Actors Guild came knocking and said, "You're going to have to change your name because we've already got another Pat Miller in the guild." And to this day, my IMDb page is messed up because they merged the two of us together.
Oh no.
I was in Toronto, Canada. I didn't do this, that, and the other. I'm like, I've tried calling IMDb and they just, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just let it be. You can't fight City Hall all the time. So anyway, I was J. Patrick Miller from then on because I had to change my name. So we had J. Patrick Miller, J. Don Ferguson, uh, R. Pickett Bug, who was the guy who had the classic line, "The whole world's gone tits up,"
Yep.
and I still talk to him like about once a year. He doesn't like to be bothered. He's very seriously into his
Oh.
music. Uh,
Mhm.
So I say, hey man, call me when you can. He'll call back or text or something. We chat around a little bit. So anyway, that group of us, Leon, Barry Bell, who was Steve Gayton in the movie, uh, J Don, R. Pickett, and myself, we formed our own little clique because the New York guys were all hanging out together. And we called ourselves the J Bug Brothers.
Nice.
And we even had t-shirts made up because we had that kind of time.
Sure. Sure.
Um, but yeah, the I mean, we all got along and everything
Mhm.
was good, but there was a little bit of a superiority or inferiority type
Sure.
thing on there, but we got it all settled.
And like I said, at least on camera, you can't tell. Everybody seems to click very well together on the screen, at least. Uh,
Oh,
you know,
and you mentioned Lisa Simpson,
yeah.
Yardley, being Lisa Simpson, or
Hmm.
being the voice of Lisa Simpson.
Yeah.
Um, one Friday, we were all sitting around waiting for the setup,
Hmm.
and we saw her leaving with her, backpack and a suitcase like she's going somewhere. And I don't know who said, somebody said, "Where are you going?" She goes, "Oh, I don't know. I've got an audition for some cartoon in New York. I'll be back Monday."
Ah, wow.
Yeah. Well, let me go with you. Maybe I can get the voice of something there, and I could be, in a show that successful.
For
Yeah.
that long, that was some serious job security.
Yeah. No kidding. Craziness. But yeah, it was just crazy stuff like that. I mean, all the time.
What was also crazy is the amount of firearms that you all got to work with. Now, was there any type of training, and particularly with the missile launcher, because you were rather close to that?
Well, all right. Let me tell you about the law rocket. First of all, you're watching some Hollywood magic right there,
Sure. Hmm.
because yes, with very serious, painstaking difficulty, they can be reloaded, but not just shove it in there and fire.
Sure.
Uh, and all the stuff they shot were, dummy rounds.
Right. Yeah.
Thank goodness. Uh, and then the explosions happened on the other end,
Hmm.
uh, from pyrotechnics.
Sure.
But the toilet paper truck was a lot of fun to watch. That just I couldn't hardly keep a straight face in that scene. That was too fun for me.
Oh, I laugh at that scene every single time that thing blows up. It's hilarious to just the plopping of the toilet paper rolls as they just keep
Yep,
kind of rain down.
yep. And you ask about the training. Yeah, they took us out for a range day.
Hmm.
I got to fire the because I kind of like guns and pistols
Sure.
and
Hmm.
stuff, and they gave me that British Sten gun, which was fully automatic. Um, but the firing pin had been removed on it. But I got to
Sure.
fire out on the range so I could get the feel of so I could try to
Hmm.
reenact the kick and whatever. But they had a 50 caliber out there, and they let me fire that thing too.
That had to be fun.
Yeah, buddy, hot dog, your mama's in the trunk. That was some kind of fun.
Did you bruise your shoulder on it?
Nah, no, I learned a long time ago when I was a little kid. I got my dad had his father's 12 gauge long barrel goose gun,
Sure.
and I didn't have that thing snugged up against my shoulder tight enough.
Ooh.
No bueno, senor. Not,
that had to sting, but you learned, right?
oh yeah, thing knocked me down, and I learned in a hurry. You got to respect the thunder stick.
And oh, you've got a lot of interesting action scenes in here, like when the Jeep goes off and starts firing off with the squibs in that. Were you anywhere near there, or were you on scene when they were doing that shot?
Oh, we were all inside.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just glad the stunt coordinators weren't in charge of that. We had an actual armorer, because there have been dead people there because those stunt guys were terrible. Um, yeah, the the little army mule,
Yeah.
that thing with the 50 caliber on top, or it may have been a 60. I don't remember now.
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, that thing was going off. Uh, we got we weren't inside when they were actually shooting making the bullet holes in the
Sure.
windows break in the thing. But it was a little loosey goosey when that Cadillac got pushed through the window. I mean, it was. I thought Yardley was going to get run over. I mean, the scream you hear from her is actual.
Sure.
I mean, whoever was behind her grabbed her and pulled her out of the way. But they were just maniacs. You remember the lawnmower, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, the cinematographer, director of photography, Armando, anyway,
Hmm.
Italian guy, brilliant guy. Um, they didn't take the blade out from under the mower,
Oh.
and he literally lost an eye from debris flew out of the mower on that
Oh.
real shot.
Yeah.
Yep. So
When it fired up, he got hit in the eye with debris.
yeah,
Ooh.
lost an eye, and in photography, that's kind of that's kind of bad.
That it's kind of important to have your eyes for
Yeah.
photography.
And again, stunt coordinator guys just not knowing what they're doing.
Which is crazy because I mean this is we're talking, early 80s, so we're talking real trucks and real props and real you're
Yeah,
driving around.
there's no CGI. Real blowing up. Um, they did have stunt drivers. I'm surprised they didn't ask John and Yardley to wreck the Malibu coming in there.
Sure.
Uh, but they had a they had a loaded charge with a uh, compressed
Sure.
uh, kick
Hmm.
thing that turned that car over.
Wow.
Uh, or that, I mean,
Sure.
it it was pretty cool to watch. But then we had to wait till they strapped Yardley and John in there, and in the seat belt, and
Hmm.
it was. I mean, it was quite the event. But again, it was all done in about 98-degree heat.
Right. So, what you're saying is when they show the shot of the temperature rising during the fueling scene, that was real. They just took shots throughout the day.
Oh yeah,
Whew.
uh, it was. And if you've never been to, and if you've never been to the Eastern Seaboard
Hmm.
in the summer, where I live in the mountains, the rain will come and it'll cool things off. Rain comes there, it just turns it into a sauna. No heat disperses. It's just thick and muggy and soupy and not pleasant.
And then you gotta act in that, right? You gotta.
Exactly. Yeah. It was not hard to get into character being miserable.
Hmm.
Uh, Not at all.
Uh, when you were you there for the when they blew it up, the Dixie stop?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Goblin truck, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was literally the last shot.
Hmm. What was that like to witness it? I mean, because it had been like your home for like what a few weeks.
Oh, oh,
So yeah,
oh, you talk about the Dixie Boy, not the
yeah, the
truck.
Dixie Boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, they wouldn't let us very near it.
Hmm.
They made us stay in our trailers,
Hmm.
or back in the campground there, the compound, uh, when it went up.
Hmm.
But that thing, those guys were not messing around when they had 55-gallon drums of some sort of explosive on each corner of that building.
Oh man.
So when it went, it seriously just said boom. Yeah, it was fabulous. That was that was so fun. Oh, I lied to you earlier.
Hmm.
We did have a week off for nights but we also lost a couple of days because Hurricane Gloria blew through.
Oh,
We had to evacuate.
sure. Uh,
So there was a little bit more of a break there.
it
Oh, and you asked earlier about fun.
yeah.
Stephen King and Armando, cinematographer, who lost an eye, um, both had birthdays the same either day or week.
Hmm.
So uh, in one of the buildings over there, that's actually was the last time I was there in 2019 or 2021, it was still standing.
Hmm.
Uh, we had a birthday party and had birthday cake and all that stuff for Stephen and Armando. And that's where I learned how to sing Italian or happy birthday in Italian.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
so I can say I've had birthday cake with Stephen King.
oh, there you go. Hey,
It was his
that
birthday.
it was his birthday, but still.
Exactly.
Uh, how was it for direction in that? Because Steven didn't direct a whole lot. So
Mm-hmm.
how was it? Was it a collaborative? Was he pretty by the book as far as this is what's on the paper and we're gonna go by that?
Well, not as much really.
Hmm.
My first line in the movie, the first line I utter on set, we got people coming up to me. Oh no, you can't say it that way. And I'm like, okay, what did I say wrong? I got the words all right.
Yeah.
Oh well, it, and then the line was, did you the original the way it was written is, did you get Mickey Mantle over to the Little League game on time? Well, they had just run over a kid with a steamroller and killed a coach with a soda can and all this stuff. And the guy goes, it was legal. He
Hmm.
goes, I don't think you can say that. I don't think they're going to like that. I don't think they're going to let it go. So we changed it to, did you get Mickey Mantle over to the baseball game on time? And that came directly from Steven because he wrote it and directed it. And,
Sure.
and there were a few ad libs.
Hmm.
Uh, one for sure I know is Barry Bell's famous line when he's out there fueling up the trucks, stuck on this. That was Barry. And I still talk to Barry quite a bit. He
Yeah.
just moved out to Utah. We were in the same state for a while, but he just moved out to Utah and he's living his best life.
Oh, that's
They
great. That's great to hear. And you mentioned Duncan, J.C. Quinn. You get to have some fun scenes with him.
oh yeah. Unfortunately he got killed in a car wreck in
Mm,
Mexico uh several years ago. I'm not sure exactly when.
sure.
Um and he was a nice enough fellow too. Um One of the New York guys, but what he wasn't,
Sure.
the problem people. Uh, and I I have one regret about uh, not getting to see him again
Mm,
because he was in a movie with oh god, the guy's name just escaped. Vision Quest.
oh yeah.
Matthew Modine. There it is.
Matthew
It
Modine. Yeah.
it'll come back around on the guitar here in a minute. Um, and he had a scene in there in the kitchen talking about fans and you know sports and stuff. And I honestly, even though I knew the guy and I knew he was an actor and I was watching this, he made me tear up with that speech. Now that's pretty dang good.
That's good when you know him and he can get that emotion out of you. But
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
I loved him as Duncan and you two as a pair. I was like, oh man, I actually am upset when he gets annihilated by the truck,
Yeah.
uh, because he
I
was
I,
a great character.
I was a little bit upset about that myself. Uh, and uh, Holter Graham, who played Duncan's son Deke,
Hmm.
the kid, uh, I looked him up the other day because I hadn't seen him, and he's like in his 40s now, and I'm like, what? What know that, man?
Yeah,
Crazy.
crazy how time flies, but you
It
know,
does.
and some things they'll get better with age, like Maximum Overdrive. I'm happy that it's got more love now because I've always enjoyed this film.
Oh, well, bless your heart, man. I'm so happy to hear that.
I have. I mean, from all the characters and just everybody talks about it, but I like it's still at its core a Stephen King story. It's just if he did you know, a monster flick, like a campy horror film. It's still Stephen King. All of you are characters that are that feel like King characters. There's some
Right.
great moments in here, especially with the trucks. I mean, it's still amazing hearing what you were saying about, these stud coordinators not knowing what they're doing. The truck stuff and that is just amazing for the type of film that this is. And, you know,
Right.
I, and I think people are starting to learn that just how much work went into it because it seemed like everybody put in a lot of work. Though I think I'm very heartbroken though what happens to the jukebox though. That was a great jukebox.
Yeah, that was. And um, the my reaction to that
Yeah.
was actually genuine because I didn't know it was going to make that kind of a racket,
Oh.
and it was like it's a wonder I didn't have PTSD from that movie. It, God, man, it was crazy.
It was a good natural reaction though, and it pays off. So
Well, yeah, I mean, and I usually don't jump, but they're here. Put the quarter in. Okay, we got to get the angle right so we can see the quarter. And I
Mhm.
got big giant mitts anyway, so we put the quarter in. I take 3 steps off, and then it just I'm like, whoa.
And,
You know,
so after Maximum Overdrive came out and that, uh, what were your feelings when you first saw the completed picture?
um, wow. I first of all, I have a hard time with seeing myself on screen,
Sure. Hmm.
and a lot of actors do, or at least some of us do.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought the parts that I wasn't involved with,
Hmm.
it was really interesting to see that because the drawbridge stuff and
Sure.
Steven's cameo. Honey, this machine just
Just
called
call
me an
me an
asshole.
asshole. It's still one of the greatest openings. I'm sorry to a movie. Was just
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he has wonderful ideas. I mean, he really does. Um, and of course, one of Donald Trump's ex-wives was in that.
was she?
Yeah, Marla Maples was in that.
Oh, that's right.
She was she was in the van, or not the van, but the car behind the van, and the
Right.
motorcycle guy flies over, and there's a watermelon comes in there, and the guy she's with gets out and runs around with the
Yeah.
lips on the watermelons and all that. And I don't know this for a fact because I didn't ever ask Steven about it,
Hmm.
but I was told that I think the reason they called me back in there
Hmm.
was they had already had that role cast.
Hmm.
And I think Steven wanted to see me, even though they had it cast, and I got it instead of the other guy who was the guy in the water who was sliding around in the car with Marla Maple.
Well, it worked out then, because
Yeah,
uh,
but worked out for my favor for a change, which is
yeah.
unbelievable.
And the soundtrack. I mean, I've got it back here. I've listened to the Who Made Who AC/DC album more times than I can count because I
Oh,
think
good.
I think that music just helps make that movie. Just
Yeah,
sets the tone so well.
yeah.
Um,
Funny little pre-story here.
mhm,
I saw ACDC every time they came within 3 hours of the house.
sure.
Like I've seen them like 9 times, I think.
Wow. Hmm.
Pre-movie, and I didn't know what it was about ACDC that made me, I just kept coming back,
Sure.
and so it was like a little, as Jim Carrey calls, a wink from God, you know. Uh, so then they did the soundtrack to this movie, and I'm like, well, isn't this cool? And I haven't been ACDC since.
Oh no.
So, you know, it was just kind of odd. But I mean, every time I went to a concert, it was ACDC. There were other concerts, I just never was free at the time
Sure.
for them.
Well, it's great music, so
Oh,
that's it.
absolutely.
I mean,
And
I
the
I
whole, yeah,
I don't
the
know
whole,
any crowd that doesn't get up and just start cheering at certain songs.
yeah. The whole idea that Angus wears that schoolboy rebellion, that rebellious,
Yeah.
that was his little act of rebellion. I wasn't a big fan of school either, so that just made me fan. Oh, as a matter of fact, I've got a dog now. He's 12 years old.
Mhm.
His name is Angus as well.
Oh, nice. What kind
Yeah.
of dog?
He's well, you'll laugh because when you hear this, and with his name, he is part lab and Australian Shepherd.
Angus, sure. That's an Angus. That sounds like an Angus.
And it doesn't help that he's big and black. So
Oh, well, that
uh,
that yeah. Now, you went on to do movies and stand a number of movies afterwards. You did stand-up comedy, but you also did voice acting. How'd you get into the voice acting part?
that was the other Pat from the IMDb.
Oh, is that the other Pat? Okay, I apologize for
But no,
that. That's
they have that on my stuff.
yeah,
Um, I had done a few things, but the stuff I
sure.
was credited for doing
Mhm.
was the other guy.
Oh, my apologies on that. I
No,
thought
no, not a problem. You know, I would love to claim the work and have the residuals, but
sure.
no, I the other gentleman had that, and I was not born in Toronto, Canada either.
Well, that's good to good to know. You did do the stand-up comedy though?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. What made you want to get into that stand-up comedy?
Well, that's what I wanted to do before I got into acting.
Oh, cool.
Um, I just I loved watching the guys on Carson show,
Hmm.
the Night Show, and that's what I wanted. I mean, I just wanted to do that. I had a sense of humor, a little bit dark sometimes,
Sure.
a little bit sadistic sometimes, um, but I had a knack to make people laugh. I learned how to do that in high school because I didn't like most situations
Sure.
involving school, and it was easier to get a laugh than it was to have to try to punch my way out of a situation.
I found that as well. I found that as well. If you get people to laugh, usually is the better solution to give you an out.
Yeah, I've had my moments where I've got little battle scars to remember a few of those, but
Sure.
uh,
So, well, and especially with the stand-up comedy, I mean, I always call the 80s and early 90s kind of like a golden age for stand-up because stand-up was really huge
yeah, it
during that
was.
time.
And I wasn't, I never did the Tonight Show or anything like that. So that was a goal. Um,
Sure.
Closest thing I got was a couple of comedy special things on like A&E and
Hmm.
um, I can't remember the other one. I can't remember where it was. Fox. It was on Fox. Evening. Night at Igby's was on Fox, and then
Hmm.
the other stuff. And I did a Showtime special as an actor with Rich Hall, who was on not necessarily the news.
Yep. Hmm.
He had the Sniglets.
Yeah, I remember the Sniglets.
Yeah, and he was a great guy.
Hmm.
He helped me a lot in my career, and I owe him a debt of gratitude for that.
Yeah, I know of a couple friends of mine who are doing stand-up comedy now, and I don't think people realize how challenging that occupation is.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
not sure I could do it now,
sure.
um, because the stuff I was doing would trigger most people now,
Sure.
um,
Sure.
and I just can't hardly.
Don't don't want to deal with that either, though. That the fallout that you might get from.
Well, I had an interesting experience this weekend.
Hmm.
Um, and I try to maintain a very kind and civil uh, attitude
Sure.
with most all of the fans, no matter what.
Sure.
Um, and there's been very few times, rare times, um, that I have kind of lost my cool.
Sure.
Uh, and I really didn't, you know, go off like
Hmm.
I would have years ago. Um, but this kid was asking about, how much money have you made today?
What?
And
Uh,
my assistant says, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't counted it yet." Just kind of
mhm.
blowing it off.
Sure.
And he goes, "Well, count it."
Uh,
And we just, and so my assistant goes, $40,000. And then his dad, I signed a picture for his dad. His dad and I were having a great time, but he
sure.
was being a
Yeah.
complete jackwad. Um, so I hand his dad the picture, thank him, how appreciate you stopping, hope you enjoy that. He goes to put the picture in the bag, and the wind was blowing like a ferocious
Sure.
beast, and the picture blew out of the bag and fell down on the ground.
Mm.
And he picks it up, hands it to his dad, starts giving him a ration of crap about that. And I said, he just missed the hole.
Yeah.
Had he done that the day you were conceived, we all wouldn't have to be dealing with you right now.
That I think is an appropriate response.
And my assistant had to leave the table. She just lost it. Everybody else around there was laughing. His dad laughed at him or laughed at the comment,
Sure.
and he turned beet red,
Mm.
just shut down immediately and walked away.
Effective joke then.
And I just, I just loved the fact that, you know, I have that kind of power because these younger kids, man, they just they can't handle, the stuff we came up with, or I came up with, my generation. I
Sure.
don't even know how are you, sir, if you don't mind my asking.
Oh, I am 48. So,
Really?
mhm.
Just a pup.
I am a pup, yes.
Are you Gen Xer?
Huh?
Are you Gen X?
Yes, I am a Gen Xer. So,
Oh, I don't know whether I'm right on the cusp of
sure.
Boomer Gen X. So, but everybody says I'm acting more like a Boomer the older I get. So,
I think I think some of us, a lot of us, end up falling into that category as the older we get. So, uh,
But yeah, I and then I'll tell you another story about just. I mean, I love fans. I love to interact with fans,
Sure.
and I will tell you this on this thing here for you to get out to your fans. Uh, my personal whoops,
Oops.
sorry,
No worries.
dropped the phone. Uh, my personal Facebook or my fan page on Facebook is Pat Miller, comma Joey from Maximum Overdrive,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to make it as interactive as possible. Fan positive, good experience. Talk to me, ask questions, whatever, and I will respond, and it is me,
Fantastic.
as you know, right?
As I know, and yeah, and I'll put that link down below in the body of this podcast for sure.
Cool.
Uh, and I know you've had a long weekend, so I don't want to keep you any further, but I just want to say this has been a very big pleasure for me, sir, being a fan of
Well,
this movie.
the pleasure is all mine, and I thank you. Um, and I, the guys that are on this on the that are on the internet with this stuff um, just kill me sometimes. I was arguing. Well, I wasn't arguing. I was just stating fact
Sure.
uh, about a truck or something that was there, and somebody kicked. There's more speculation about the trucks than there are anything else in the movie. I'm like, what is going on, man? The trucks really did take over.
Yeah.
So I'm commenting uh, on this other fan page, and the guy says, "Well, since neither of us actually know what happened, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree."
And you're like, I was there, man.
Exactly. I said, "I have to disagree with you, but if you haven't figured it out, I was the character Joe in the movie. I was there."
Uh,
Well,
how,
backpedal apology.
oh yeah, how can there be debate on the trucks? Out of the one thing out of the whole movie that I would think would be pretty, straightforward, it'd be the trucks.
Well, they were saying they reused trucks and painted them, and
Oh,
this truck wasn't in the park. This was, I mean, people are watching this thing with a freaking microscope. It's, as Stephen King said, it's a moron movie. You don't have to think about it. It's entertainment, you
it's
know. And it was this truck repainted, and they did this and put another put another body. No, this budget was like shoestring.
sure.
Uh,
It'd take more money to repaint these than it would just to get another truck.
exactly. And they were all leased anyway. So I mean, come on,
Right.
guys. But
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'll,
the, the
I'll I'll say that Green Goblin truck is still iconic, regardless of how people feel about the movie.
oh
That truck is amazing.
yeah, it was, and I have since learned by going to the truck shows like I
Mhm.
did. I The guy that built that truck, Nate Lawrence, took it to Guilty by Association truck show in Joplin, Missouri, 3 years ago,
Mhm.
2021, in September, I believe it was. And he flew Barry Bell and myself out there
Oh wow.
to to meet the fans, sign
Mhm.
autographs, that sort of thing. And the people were so nice, and they everybody accommodates you, and
Mhm.
you treated good, like we used to be treated as actors, kind of spoiled rotten. And I mean, I try not to expect that, because I'm certainly nobody special. We're all the same as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
Um, but the truck stuff, that truck has the exact same motor that the movie truck had in it.
Wow.
It is a Detroit 8V71, and that thing has a sound that is totally unmistakable. Unmistakable. And the everybody said, "Oh, what kind of filters did they run that through to get that grindy, grunty,
Hmm.
you know, eerie sound?" I said, "None." And this weekend, I'll tell you, I'm rambling on. I'm sorry, I'll shut up. But this is a
No
cool story.
worries. Yeah.
This weekend, the owners of the truck were there, and I said, "You guys are missing the boat here." And they said, "What? How?" I said, "Fire that truck up every 30 minutes and watch the people flock to it." And there could be nobody around. They'd get in and start that up, and it has its own, even warming up,
Sure.
it's got a wobble, 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 you know, and then they gun it, and it's on, man. It's on. People flock to that thing like moths to a flame. It's like they turned on a giant magnet and just suck people out of everywhere. Um, and I said, "You're killing your business by not doing that." I
Sure.
said, and it's honest to goodness, there's like 30, 40 people at a time just come flying out of the place just to hear it because it's got a very, very distinctive sound. And it is so much like the original truck.
Hmm.
It's not even funny.
Well, that's good that they were get as close as they could to replicate it.
Oh, yeah. It's a 77 Western Star.
Mhm.
And the spec for the replica goblin head
Mhm.
are somehow Nate got the schematics or the blueprints or whatever those guys call those things. I don't know, but the plans anyway, and he built it very, very close to the original. And he said he left uh, about 10 minutes, or excuse me, 10% of of the of the there was a little bit of 10% difference,
Mhm.
so it wouldn't be an exact copy. It was artist interpretation.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And one of the things he did was he put chrome drive wheels
Mhm.
on the truck, and the drive wheels in the movie were black.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, "Nate, you're going to catch a lot of grief because the drive wheels aren't black." "Oh no, man, I'm going to do this. It's my truck. I'm going to do what I want to do." Okay. The internet lit up. "Why don't you put black wheels on there?" That black movie truck had black wheel. You just don't know what you're dealing with. And the fans here are wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes they are fanatical.
Hmm. Some
And
some sometimes they
it,
take it a little too far. I mean, I'm a big fan, but I understand with the replicas and that how they're not going to be too exact. But I mean, the fact we even have that truck as close as you do to the original because they blew up the original.
right, right. Now the original head is still around,
Right.
but the guy restored it. I mean,
Hmm.
the whole lower jaw and the left ear was off of it, and you know, um, so and he's got that in the museum up in Ohio. And he
Hmm.
travels around with it some now, but he got COVID, and he's
Yeah.
got an oxygen tank. He's still not breathing
Mm.
well, and I hate that for him because he's a pretty nice fella. And I signed that. Um, Three actors have signed it out of the movie.
Mm.
Giancarlo Esposito,
Mhm.
who was the video game player,
Right.
who went on to be huge. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the Gus somebody, the chicken brother in Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
and he went on to do the Mandalorian. Pretty nice gig. It's not Lisa Simpson, that worked.
Uh,
Me, I'm in a parking lot in Louisville, Kentucky. So what are you gonna do?
what are you gonna do? But a lot of love to you, sir, for bringing us something that I think more people are still talking about Maximum Overdrive today than they're talking about the award-winning Oscar films from that same year. So that says something about the movie you were in, sir.
Well, that is very cool. I'm glad to be a part of it. And if any of your folks there have questions or concerns or want to tell me I'm full of it, have them join the join the fan page. I will answer you. You may not like the answer, but I will answer you.
Uh, this has been a pleasure, Pat. Thank you so much. And yes, folks, check it out and watch Maximum Overdrive, maybe with a little more appreciation this time, because they don't make them quite like this anymore. Maybe for some reasons, good or bad. But at least we have this. That's gonna People are gonna be talking about it for years. So thank you very much, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, man. It's a pleasure.